and tell you. I did record it, so I'm going to upload it and I'll send you the link. But so I called the oh well, I'm getting ahead of myself. I got confirmation on July 5th that they finally delivered the claim, right? So I followed it up with something, an email letting them know that I finally got receipt of delivery. So the claim is finally being processed. They're trying to say that the letter they sent to me, which I'm saying I never got a letter. What are you talking about? Do you have proof that I received something? Because I never got anything. And if they try to say, well, you sent the claim on blah 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 blah, no, I actually did send one, but it never was received, and I've got proof it was never received because the U.S. Postal Service paid a claim on it. See, I got proof. That's their admittance. So she's like, I was telling her, I said, listen, she kept trying to interrupt me. I said, listen, you need to stop interrupting me. And she goes, well, you, and I said, I'll afford you the same ability. So as soon as she starts talking, first thing out of her mouth is Mr. Herrick. And I say, whoa, I got to stop you right there. I'm sorry. I have to interrupt you right there because that's identity theft. And you know what I was calling? Their identity theft program. So here I found out they issue an identity theft passport. A passport from the state. And so I explained to her, I said, okay, I started it out and I said, okay, so you understand what a legal name is, right? And she's like, there's this long pause and she goes, well, I'm not quite sure what your question is. And I said, well, it's pretty clear. A legal name is like an individual has a first and last name. That's a legal name, right? And she goes, yeah. And I said, and that individual is a person, right? Yes. And you understand Walmart is a person too, right? And she's like, what are you getting at? And I said, I'm trying to explain to you why there is no Mr. Herrick. That's like asking for Mr. Walmart. And when you say Mr. Herrick, that's identity theft. You're stealing the name my mom and dad gave me that I then turned around and registered with the Secretary of State and was using first. And you're trying to use that first and last name that the state created that's nothing more than a cheap Rolex. It's a copy of the name that I use. So here I'm talking to her like that. And she goes, well, I see here, she starts talking about the claim. I see here, she was asking, she said, what's your name? And I said, well, wait a minute. When you say your, that's plural. Just like what you were saying. That's plural. And we know plural means there's more than one. And then she started talking over me and blah, blah. And I said, listen, we can't get anything done if we're talking over each other. So you go ahead and you explain, but just don't call me Mr. Herrick. That's all I'm saying. If you're going to address me, it's Douglas or Douglas Joseph. So finally, she got that. And I was very clear. I said, listen, that claim is in process now. It was received on July 5th, and I got confirmation from the U.S. Postmaster. Finally. All the other times that I sent it, that was the third attempt. Well, what happened was when I did the third time, I did it priority mail. So what it did, see, what they do is anything that's first class mail, they send someone down there every morning and they pick it up. So they're avoiding the scan. All. What's that? We saw that with the court up here in Montana. Same. Right. And they'll probably rifle through it, and some shit they may just throw away. Yes. They can do that. Yeah. And other stuff they may try to send back. They may open it and then say, "Oh, we're not going to receive this," and send it back. But nonetheless, see it's kind of like the way the system is now. In the old days, if it was insured, there'd be a big old sticker on there that says insured, right? Insurance. Now all the labels are printed right there, so you don't have to fill out those forms anymore. It prints out a label, and unless that employee, the actor that's going through the mail, knows what those codes are, it's not going to know it's insured. It says insured, but it's really small. So they just go through and they figure, oh, it's first class. They don't know because most people don't insure something that they send in the mail. And so all I realized is, hey, that's a money making opportunity then. I can just send anything first class, insure it, and I guarantee I'm going to get paid because they're not allowing the postmaster to see what they should be doing is separating out that insured mail and saying this is not going to go in the bin that goes in with all the other mail, but they can't do that because I'm sending it first class mail. It all gets put in with all the other first class. If the only difference is that it's insured. So they say they don't insure paper, and I said you're not insuring paper. You're insuring the delivery of this because it's so important that if it's not delivered, it's actually worth far more than what that claim is. So it's like, I'm just trying to ensure that it gets delivered, and this is the best way to do it. And then they'll say, well, no, if you go 2-day delivery, no, I don't want to do that. I want to send it first class, not priority. I want to send it first class. So it's a flaw in their system. See, if the way they've got it set up, they would have to change the whole thing and say, nope, you can't pick up your mail that way anymore because someone's figured out a way to make money off of us, and it's legal. So it's essentially, I see that happening down the road because if there's a lot of claims they're not used to paying out on claims. How often does mail really and truly get lost? Not very often. Not this kind of mail. There might be junk mail that gets lost, but it's not traceable. Nobody cares. So this is a case where, they're offering insurance. So they'll either withdraw the ability to put insurance on it, or they'll change I have a feeling they'll just change what the AG and the courts, the way they're allowing them to pick up their mail, and just say, no, you can't do that. Because otherwise we could do it too. We could say, hold it. I don't want it delivered. I'll pick it up. And then sit there at the post office and say, nope, I'm not accepting that. I'm not accepting that. I'm not accepting that. I'm not accepting that. I'll accept this one right here. You can send back all that other shit. I'm not accepting delivery. So this is why they wanted Gail to put in a change of address. I told her, don't do that. That's the way they put a trail on you. That's like a contract. You're asking them to deliver it. So you have to give something to the postmaster saying, don't deliver mail, I'll pick it up. This is what I'm thinking now. That if we say we want to set up something where you hold all the mail and I'll just come by and look at it. That's kind of what a private mailbox is. So when they get mail, it gets delivered, period, because the contract I signed with Linda is that she can sign for anything that is going to Douglas Joseph Herrick. That's the contract I have with her. But once it's in that box, if I look at it and say, well, I had a contract with Linda, so it's okay for Linda to accept delivery, but I can't accept delivery, I'm going to have to return this. See? So her accepting delivery is only based on the contract that Douglas Herrick has, which says it's okay to do that. But that doesn't waive my assumed business name's ability to say I can't accept this the way it's addressed. So okay, so this passport, when I get the application, I'm thinking to myself, I asked her, I said, so maybe there's a quicker way. I could just do it online. Is the form online? She goes, no. I said, it's not even available online anywhere? And she said, no, it's not. Identity theft passport, yes. So if you say Nevada identity theft passport, you'll get the page, and then it says what the requirements are. And so she was reading them to me, thinking that it wouldn't qualify, and everything qualified. I said, that's it. That's exactly what this is. Because she was trying to say, well, that's not really identity theft. If the state, because I was explaining to her what happened, I said, the state employees, the sheriffs, you're telling me I have to file a local police report. Well, they're the ones that are stealing the identity.
Well, they're misusing the information that's not charged by confusing the identity, which is a trademark infringement.
I didn't get that far, but that's what's going to be in writing and sent back to them. Yes, absolutely. And so how do you make a report when they'll turn around and say, well, we're not going to take the report? Because that's exactly what will happen. When you tell them, hey, this is identity theft, I need for you to take a report because I need to file this report with the AG's office, and it says I need to make a local police report. I need to make an attempt, and I'm going to tell them it's you guys that are stealing the identity. So, I'm not sure if you want to take a report on yourselves. Right. That's right. They have to make it clear. That's transparent. It has to be transparency. So, and I think that is the terminology, transparency. You can't sweep things under the rug anymore. And so what's happening here in this town, this is the other thing. I talked to this guy, Anthony Greco. They've been messing with this guy big time for a long, long time. He's broke now. They ruined him, which is what they're good at doing, right? And it's all these. So he's telling me stuff that I didn't even know before. He's been here for quite a while, and he was exposing the fact that one of the judges, Judge Lane, the one who is doing this to him, he came to town. He was raised a Catholic. As soon as he comes to town, he converts and becomes a Mormon. I find out that the chief and the lieutenant, the top two people in the sheriff's department, Mormons. The judges, Mormons. The clerk. Yeah, this is so. This is the stuff that Trump is supposedly supposed to be going after. Is this kind of shit? What's going on? Here's what I told the state attorney general's office. I said, okay. So what the court is doing that the state needs to know, they're stealing state revenue. This is what Anthony Greco told me. This is beautiful. So what they're doing is their cops are out there writing tickets. They got a couple of motorcycle cops, and that's all they do is write tickets all day long, right? Speeding tickets. You're 3 miles an hour over the speed limit, boom, you get a ticket, right? Now, the fine for a moving violation involves points. And the points are against your insurance, and nobody wants that shit, right? Well, wait a minute. Let me finish. Wait. That's irrelevant. I'm trying to make a point of what they're doing. Okay, so they write a ticket. The victim shows up in court. And so the prosecutor comes over to him. Hey, listen, your speeding ticket, you're only 3 miles an hour over the speed limit, but the fine is like $350, and plus it's like 3 points against your insurance, so a DMV points. So here's what the DA is willing to offer you. If you plead to a lesser charge of parking violation, and pay $120. We're good to go. Now, that parking violation is a local ordinance. So guess what? They don't have to share any of that revenue with the state.
No, they put it over on a state issue and switch it to a
Yes.
The state issue gets dismissed and the local one gets paid.
Because the speeding laws are all state laws.
Right, they're adopted, followed by the Department of Transportation for the state of Nevada.
Right. So what are they doing? They're doing a bait and switch, and the state is getting left out of the equation. All that money is going to the courts. They're not sharing it with the state. That's just like a retailer not collecting sales tax.
Well, did you know that when the state gets harmed, you can buy a special sealed suit that you do not certify them, which triggers an investigation by the AG's office?
What is it that you're talking about filing? What is it?
There's a special type of a lawsuit, key cam. You file a key cam, okay? And what you do is you've got these actors at the local level that are harming the commercial good of the state. And then
Oh, I see.
Investigation.
It's a way of alerting them that, hey, you're losing revenue here.
Exactly.
Okay, I got you. That's but then so Anthony Greco, this guy, he said he reported it to the treasurer, the state treasurer, and alerted him, hey, your revenue that should be going to the state. He alerted him. Well, the treasurer didn't do anything, and I think it's because he should have gone to the attorney general. Yeah. And see, the reason why, even if he had done that, it probably nothing would have gone anywhere is because Anthony Greco, I told him, I said, the Anthony Greco that they're going after is their state-created Anthony Greco, the defendant. So last week, when I was talking to the public defender, did I tell you he no-showed me again?
Here's one thing. Key Cam is a lawsuit against a company or person believed to violate the law while under contract with the government. So while the county's under contract with the
Oh, yeah.
and it's a violation of government regulation. A Key Cam lawsuit is brought forth by a private citizen.
Wow. So the private citizen is the assumed business name.
Right.
Got it. I got it.
And now it's having assumed business name, which are good standing with the state, and they need to pay whatever commercial, this has to go under proper commerce. And these offers are allowing that to take place.
So I see.
They're also cheating the state.
Right.
They're under contract. The county is under contract with the state. The county is in contract with the DA's office. Remember, the state doesn't hire the DA, but the county does. So now the county would
Right.
have to investigate the hiring of DA and actors that are going against the county and state agreements.
Right. So the states, though, don't have agreements with other states. They have agreements with the federal government, with the United States. So this is why states don't necessarily share information electronically. They do it over the fucking phone. So and then they take that information. They go, oh, thank you, and then they create that work order, that child work order. Now that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to create Douglas Herrick, and I'm saying you can't fucking do that. That's identity theft.
Right, it's identity theft if they're misusing information to make false charges.
Right.
You have to have the false charges. Anybody can use a name. What they cannot infringe upon is all the trademark property and the business location. So here's the example. You can't have two John Allen Smith at the same location doing the same type of business using the same trademark property.
Right. It's too similar. It's too similar, yeah. And so, yeah. And
language that they use with the trademark, it's confusing to the public.
Exactly.
Because if you have two John Allen Smiths a block apart from each other, hey, they both have a different registration number. Why would you come steal this John Allen Smith truck for that John Allen Smith? No, you better have your descriptors and identifiers correct, and that's where Social Security uses.
So now, this just dropped in my lap. I was telling Gail that here it is again. I looked at something, I did a Google search, and I see this Nevada identity theft passport. And I'm like, wait a minute, passport? Fuck, wait a minute. So when I hear passport, if there's a U.S., see, they refer to passport here, they say U.S. passport. See, there's a failure to acknowledge. There is no such thing as a U.S. passport unless you're a delegate. That's so. So I have a USA passport. So it stands to reason that if we don't have a driver's license, then we need a passport from the state, because they won't really acknowledge the federal passport, even though they kind of have to. See, this is the part of their system where it's exposing it all as a fraud. See, because the passport is a surname given name. So this identity theft passport, I'm gonna find out on the application how similar it is to the DS11, the USA passport. I'll bet you it's really close. I'll bet you it's the same way. You have to get pictures taken of yourself. How much you want to bet? I haven't. So here, this form is not available online. You can't even go into the office and ask for it. They have to send it to you. So you have to have what? An address. So there has to be a registered entity, because a registered entity needs an address. Makes sense. So now I think I found what we're missing. Now when I put this in, I'm going to say, I know what I was missing. This is why Jason Yale, when he pulled me over, I'm showing him the USA passport. If he was trained properly, he would tell me, listen, I'm going to give you a warning. You need to obtain a state passport. Because otherwise, it's kind of like leading them into this trap of committing identity theft. So, but I'm telling them that's not me. Don't call me Mr. Herrick. So I'm not tricking them. I'm telling them up front, and they're just not acknowledging it. That's why it's a claim. That's why there's damages, because I'm telling them that and have given notice. Uh-huh. Oh. So I can see, I can segue into this theft report. I can introduce the fact that they're taking what would be state revenue, and they're converting it. It's conversion. They're converting it to local revenue only, which is at the state's. It's enriching the county at the expense of the state. Right. Yeah, it's like, what are you going to do about it, Mr. Attorney General? And by the way, the Attorney General here in Nevada is running for governor. Right now. He's got a big push to become governor. So, yeah. So that, and then between that and then the DMV director, Terry Albertson, that's the next phone call I'm going to make, is to their office and say, listen, I just wanted to let you know, I just discovered the identity theft passport. I'm in the process of obtaining that application. I think that may help settle this claim, because this is what the state should have been giving to me in the first place. This is what you should have told me, because that's what's happening here, is identity theft. The DMV has taken information that's not theirs. It's not attached to that. And so I'm going to actually save Terry from a lot of liability. We're going to fix this.
Well, yeah, they're taking it once it's been trademarked. And you've always had the trademark, right?
Right, exactly. The trademark's always been. Yeah, it's unwritten law. You just have to know.
Exactly. It's just assertion. Like, oh no, I think to leave something. So my friend, I get a phone call Saturday afternoon, and he's in the grocery store, and he says, Dawn, I don't know what's going on. I keep 2 police cars. They followed me from 2 stores
Right.
And he's in the grocery store. Now he surrendered to he hasn't used a driver license in 22 years. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he, had a case about a year ago and was paying on it, but he's corrected everything. He's registered this and this thing, and the court even got that paperwork while he was paying that.
And you're saying with the Minnesota Secretary of State?
Yes. Oh yeah. And he's done the things that we've done.
Right.
He's making, I know him.
And what does he have on his the car he's driving or truck?
Well, it wasn't his car at all.
Okay.
So what happened was he called me, and he was kind of panicked, like, and then all of a sudden he just saw there's three of them coming towards me here in the grocery store. So he wasn't even in the car.
Right.
And I hear this, we have a warrant out for your arrest, you're under arrest, you're James Montgomery. And he said, well, wait a minute, you need to identify yourself, you need to identify who's been charged, and you need to identify, I need to see that warrant. We're not doing that. And we haven't heard from him since.
He disappeared?
It appears he's in the jail system. We haven't gotten a phone call. The woman he was with hasn't heard from him. She put money with the jail so he could call out. And here it is Monday, and we haven't heard anything.
Holy shit. They have a warrant, they said.
Yeah, I went and looked online. I couldn't see any warrant, and there would have had to have been newer charges. And what they said is you're under arrest for driving without a license. There's a warrant out. There is no warrant that we can find.
Well, then you need to make a missing persons report, or that gal does. They kidnapped him.
Yeah, they misidentified him right there. And he said, and I was a witness on the phone. He said, I am not James Montgomery. You need to identify yourself, and you need to identify the entity being charged. And they said, we don't care who you think you are or what you think you are. Because he said, I've corrected my status, and I'm private. You're James, you're coming with us. And they refused. They would not. I heard the whole thing.
Wow.
We're not doing that.
Did they say they're with the sheriff's department, or?
And they were Belgrade police.
Just government police. Nothing. No identification.
They were Belgrade local police for that town.
What is it? Belgrade?
Yeah, Belgrade, Montana.
Did you try to call and get information from them?
No, because this was a weekend. So, everywhere you try to call, it goes to just a message.
What about today?
I haven't done anything yet today.
Because what you should do is put out an APB like they do, and have a bunch of people call in. Hey, where is so and so? He was kidnapped. We think by government actors.
Yeah,
he was misidentified. He was misidentified. He was walking in a store and he was kidnapped. They're claiming he was driving without a driver's license, but he was walking in a store.
Right, because he was on the phone with me in the store.
And he was kidnapped. And I have reason to believe that his life may be in danger.
Right. No, so now that I go online and I see there's the juvenile bench warrant still on the sheriff's department website.
For your son, for your son's name, for that name.
Adrian Lemieux, and there's no Adrian Lemieux other than this one.
Right.
In 20 counties.
Well, I think, and I obviously I just found this, but there's a reason that this is happening, Dawn. This makes total sense to me. It's identity theft. It's clearly identity theft. I'm thinking that your AG all the states must have an identity theft passport program. I'm thinking the state of California has one too. That's going to be one of my phone calls.
Mm-hmm. I saw it says it on Montana they have one.
Okay, there you go.
They do have one.
See, that would make sense. That could be one of the things we need. Just like we know that the USA passport is for us. So this is at the state level. what I would say is perhaps the equivalent of that. And all you need, so here it says documents you will need to file a police report. You need proof of identity, one of the following: valid driver's license containing the same address or information. Of course, that's what they want. A certified U.S. issued birth certificate. Okay, got that, right? But what does that identify?
State created entity.
Right. So that's the one that they're confusing. So I can identify where the source of the problem was. It's right here on this piece of paper here. I have a USA passport, which has nothing to do. That's the next thing that they ask for proof of identity. It says U.S. passport, though, not USA passport.
Right.
There's no such thing as a U.S. passport unless you're a delegate.
So maybe the only thing that they really care about for identity theft is if the state citizen has had its identity stolen.
So, well, what I'm thinking,
having anything to do with that.
Okay, so you need so the birth certificate is all you need, all right, for one. Number two, proof of social security number. Well, you can have the social security card or some benefit. It says social security benefits documentation. Well, I applied for SNAP benefits right there. I got proof. What got those benefits, I was telling them all along, is the assumed business name. I identified myself as the name holder, the holder of the name.
Okay, let's take this further. I'm going to very critically think this through here out loud with you.
Okay.
Okay, if they are wanting that type of information, then basically what they're saying is they'll get involved with the state-created creature person that has had its identity stolen. That its property is not in the hands of the one that they gave it to. And somebody else is misusing their legal person. The state birth certificate created legal person.
Right,
because
right.
I'm not hearing anything in there where it says the assumed business name or the any private citizen using any, because they don't see private citizens.
Well, yeah, you know what she said is when she was reading the actual legislation, it said personal information. See, everything was personal, and I said, okay, well then that proves that the passport is for private use because there's nothing personal about a business, is there? And I said, if the identity that they're asking for proof of here is the state-owned name, that's where it's being misused, because they're claiming that state-owned name is the assumed business name, which is what's associated with me. I'm the holder of that name, but that still isn't me. And they're trying to say that the state-owned name is me. That's where the identity theft is. Who was using that name first? Well, the trademark infringement is occurring because the state of California created that name after my mom gave that information to them.
Right.
So it's pretty obvious I can prove that that name was created by my mom and dad, not by the state. The state created the first and last name that is used on that certificate of live birth. That's the one. So what the problem is, and I got them to acknowledge this too, that the Secretary of State is not instructing the clerk or any of its actors to give a disclosure as to what that name is on that birth certificate. And see, it says certified U.S. issued birth certificate, United States issued. Are any birth certificates issued by the United States?
Not that I'm aware of.
I don't know of any. Yeah.
It's a state.
It's the state. I just realized that. Certified U.S. issued birth certificate. That's like asking for a U.S. passport. Can't provide it. So they can provide the proof of this identity. That's them. They can provide all that. So what's happening here is the identity theft They're trying to accuse me of identity theft. See, they're trying to say that I'm using their information saying it's me.
Right.
And what I have to do is be able to prove, no, it's the exact opposite. I was induced to do that. You guys were tricking me to do that, and I realized, wow, I'm doing something wrong, and I stopped. Now you guys are trying to force me to do that again.
Right.
So, the passport is going to be for me, so I can get passed on, so they don't, because they're confused. They're the ones confusing the two names, not me. I'm trying to tell them this is not the same name, and they're saying yes, it is.
Well, just like they refused to listen to my friend. They absolutely were not going to identify anything.
Right.
I
we're not going to do that. Yeah, he said
we're not going to do that. And they were the ones that did the identifying. Not one word came out of James's mouth that said, "You're misidentifying. We're not doing that." So they came over to him and said, "You're James Montgomery." He said, "That is not my name. We have a warrant out for your arrest for driving without a driver license." How can there be a warrant out for somebody's arrest for driving without a driver license when there wasn't even a charge yet?
They would have to have pulled him over while he was in the driver's seat, so that they could have probable cause in the first place.
Yeah, they did this in a grocery store.
Yeah, it was all. This is why I say it's kidnapping. They just kidnapped him. There was no emergency lights. There was nothing. These are imposters. They're people acting. Okay, so listen to what I found out. All right.
And they would not identify themselves either.
So you know that this town of Pahrump is got a female sheriff.
Yes.
And she looks like a bowling ball. She's like, I swear, she's about 5'2".
I saw pictures of her.
Yeah.
On the thing.
So it's kind of like, wow, she doesn't really look the role. Well, she is not the role. The guy who's running the show, his name is Berukowitz. He's a New York Jew, and this guy Anthony Greco knows him because he's from New York. And he says, I know that guy. He's from New York. He's a New York Jew. When he came here, he converted to LDS, and he had over 30 charges, felony charges against him. Women that came forward that said that they were forced to have sex, or that he was going to file all these false charges against them. These women that were pulled over in their cars at night. And in some cases, in one case, supposedly he took them to the Mormon church, like he's an elder, like he's got keys to get in there. So this guy's bad news. And the former sheriff had demoted him because it was so obvious. All these charges were against him. It was like a black mark on the sheriff's department. And then over time, of course, people just have bad memories, and everyone forgets because there's so much shit going on, they can't remember. And next thing you know, 5 years has gone by. Nobody remembers about any of it. So this has been going on for a long time. And I'm sure Pahrump's not the only place that does it. You just mentioned who was talking to me about, there was another case where they're offering a way to make amends, and the majority of the money goes to the local agencies, and it doesn't go to the state. It's almost like there's some competition there between the local. So this is why when the state troopers, they pulled me over, they didn't touch me. All they did was hand a citation, and the same county employee that was there talking to me on live PD, Jason Yale, he happened to be the guy who pulled me over on the motorcycle. There's no way he could possibly know it was me. I'm wearing a helmet. What are the odds of that? And then within seconds, he's just like, boom, So here he witnessed the state troopers not doing anything, and he does the exact opposite. How can that be? How can that be? In the state of Nevada, there be one. It tells me they don't follow the same law.
Nope.
They don't follow the same law.
They're different contractors.
They're different contractors.
They're
Exactly.
different contractors dealing with different personas that have different rules apply. So we think the counties are possibly creating a lot of other identities. Because look, when I said the Department of Human Health Services on that presumptive eligibility form, they said right there, the information on the sheet may be used to create identities for children under the age of 16. And I said, absolutely not. You may not take the information on the sheet, as it may harm your creation of other identities may harm the assumed business name.
Right. You don't have the permission, the written permission you need anyway.
Because see, when I filled out that form, I put that the principal retains all rights, interest in the information,
Right.
and the signature of the attorney in fact on this form.
Right.
And it's private, special, and confidence, and you do not get so. If you retain all rights, title, and interest in the signature in the form, now they're not allowed to take the information on that form. And if we find out about it, that's identity theft. They're not allowed to take that information on that form because it's not a gift donation and we're not volunteering it for free.
So see, the identity theft that we're reporting is the theft of the assumed business name, not the theft of the first and last name.
Yes.
So what we're actually documenting is the state-owned name, which is the name that's being confused with the name we're saying, hey, you're stealing this name. So
they have every right to create the file. It's not the name, Doug. It's not the name. It's the identifiers and descriptors. You got to keep that straight.
Okay.
Not stealing a name.
Okay, so you're right. It's not the name; it's the identity, the information.
Yes, it's it's specific, the identifiers and descriptors.
Well, yeah, and it's called identity theft. It's not called name theft.
Right.
Yeah. So
And
I get what you're saying.
Yes, it has to be the descriptors and the identifiers. Descriptors are the characteristics, and the identifiers are the account numbers.
Got it.
Got it?
Yeah. So the USA passport has no descriptors other than a birth date. That's not really a descriptor, is it?
It's the only one that they're choosing to use.
There's that, and then the passport number is a descriptor too, right?
But you also don't know what's hidden in the background, because when you fill out these different applications and forms,
there's more.
License.
I know what you're saying. So when you fill out the DS11, it's asking for, and it's interesting to note that a recent change was brought to my attention by the State Department. The gal called me up and she apologized. Hey, we're sorry. I need to get this to you, but by the way, I need to let you know. I looked at your application that you filled out back in 2010, and I noticed where it asks for Social Security number, you put zeros. You can't do that anymore. And
right,
I said,
they need those descriptors.
Right, and I said that's fine, because back then I said I didn't understand that number is a state-owned number anyway, and it doesn't matter. I have no problem. In fact, if you want to put it in there now, you can. I'll give it to you because it's not mine. It's the state's anyway. And she goes, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure you knew. So okay. So now, see, that descriptor goes to the state-owned name, which is the first and last name. But then where are they getting the surname and given name? See, I'm wondering if this state identity theft passport is the same way. Are they gonna say it's a surname and given name, just like the USA passport?
Interesting.
Yeah, I wanted to.
What if they can't do identity theft on anything but another agency's property? But okay, it says, let's see,
after the application is mailed, you will be notified as to whether you qualify. It says quality. I think they meant qualify. You qualify for a program card. Okay? So you is the first and last name. So
yeah, and so I'm suspecting here, as with everything, this might be owned for state-created property, having its identity papers stolen and misused.
it could be. So then it would be a matter of, all right, well, then it appears that there's a situation whereby there's a question as to what that first and last name is, which the name that you guys are using is way too close to the assumed business name that my mom and dad gave me.
Yeah, that I registered as an assumed business name.
Right. So we need to, and especially since you're assigning metrics to this, which is information that could be misconstrued to be me.
Exactly. Your descriptors and identifiers are too confusing to the general public.
Right. And because at one time I was confused like the rest of the public is, I was making a mistake. I corrected that. I'm not doing that anymore. So you need to correct your information. Otherwise, Terry Albertson is liable because it's you guys that are committing the identity theft, not me.
Right.
How do I report you misusing a name that you didn't have first to begin with? I had it first. So where is my ability to say you stole that name and are misusing it? Where can I report that to the state?
They didn't steal the name. It was volunteered. Just like Doug, I can take Douglas Herrick.
I'm sorry. You're right. They're stealing the descriptors that would be...
They're misusing the descriptors, which is an infringement.
Right. So the descriptors at birth would be the weight and the length of the baby.
Yeah.
And of course, you don't see those on the birth certificate.
Right. And okay, so now I'm going to take this a little bit further.
They used to do footprints and handprints. My cousin's has footprints and handprints on the back of his certificate. And
yes, they used to do that.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore. Why?
Maybe because people are smartening up to the identity theft issues.
Because they're trying to say that. Yeah, because at that point they were trying to say that first and last name is associated with those footprints.
And that footprint was your soul.
Yeah, and the footprint was the soul. Yeah, they have your soul. Anyway, okay, so those descriptors went away.
Right, and now they're using other descriptors. So now let's look at the driver license. What's hidden in the background on the application is the information of the driver. Remember, the driver is the name. What they're putting on the driver license is the license holder information, the agent's information. You're not seeing the driver's information. That's kept hidden back in the background on the application form. So just because they gave you a license, hidden in the background is the information of the driver that they created. That's not on the license. What's on the license is the agent holding the property.
It doesn't say that though, but I see what you're saying. Yeah, because they know that the information, the biometric data, cannot be attributed to an entity.
Right.
So it's got to be something that is matching. It has to match. So if
it's matching the licensee holder, the license holder.
Right. The holder of the license. Yeah.
Yeah, they're describing the holder of the license, the agent. And nowhere do you actually really see the name of the driver.
Right. The first and last name is not the name of the driver, or is the name of the driver? No,
But
it's
that
not.
the name on the license is not the driver entity. That only has to do with the license holder.
Right.
Everything
It
on the
says
license,
driver. It says driver identification card. So it's the
yes, it's
identification.
identifying the agent for the driver.
Yeah, it's the descriptors.
Right.
But the name that's on there, you're saying, is the holder of the card, not the driver.
Yes.
Got it. So where is the driver's name listed?
The application.
Just like
During the application process.
Well, but now understand this. The same thing is true on the DS11, which is the passport form. But what comes out on the card?
The agent holding the card's information.
Well, but it's clearly not the same as the application, because the application has first and last name. This says surname and given name.
Right. So they're recognizing that the passport holder is for their passport entity as a surname given name.
Right, but okay, but they're asking for a first and last name. That's not the passport holder. So
okay, when they're asking for the first and last name, that's the entity that's being created, and then they take your information and put the information of the agent on the front.
Yeah, but are they that? See, what I'm saying is that name has already been created by the state of California. You're telling them that because to get a passport, you have to bring in what? A certificate of live birth.
Right. They need to know that there was a legal personality already created. Okay.
And that's the one that's on the DS11. That's what they're doing, is they're saying that's the name that's on the DS11, but the name that's on the passport is a surname given name. So
because
what I'm saying,
that's a living being right there using a passport entity.
Right. So that's so there's no question of identity there. It's very clear. Now, the problem is that the driver license, it's not clear, because the first and last name is identical on the application as it is on the card. So it looks like it's the same person.
Yeah, that's where it gets confusing, and that's why that's where you've got the issues of potentially identity theft, because it's so similar to
the state-owned name. So that's why I'm saying the state-owned passport should be a surname and a given name then. Same thing as the USA passport.
Yeah, but I'm still not convinced that the passport, what property...
Why did they call it a identity? But why did they call it? I mean, they're literally calling it a Nevada identity theft passport. Why are they calling it a passport to begin with, Don?
Because you've got a living being out there that gave over information to be an agent for an entity that they're creating.
No, this is what I'm saying. Identity theft. Okay, so you either have a passport or you have an ID. There's no in between. They're not the same thing. So if there's identity theft, they say, oh, well then you don't use that driver license. Here, we have a passport for you to use. That lets you pass through our port, our commercial zone, without the need to identify yourself. It's the same thing.
Right.
So this is, I mean, it still remains to be seen, but it would make sense that they would try to hide this shit, and they're hiding it. It's not on their website. That's the first clue right there. Why are they hiding this form? Why?
Well, I don't know, but we definitely need to find out.
Yes.
One that can have identity. See, first, you can't presume that if you, in any private capacity, using something that's being harmed.
Well, we know that the DMV is misusing those identifiers.
Well, that's true. We do know that.
We know that, and we're calling them out on it. So this is why I said I think what I need to do is let the DMV know, hey, by the way, I know you guys are connected to the AG's office, especially in this tort claim program. I found the identity theft passport program, and I think we might be able to resolve this quickly because I didn't know about that, and now it's been brought to my attention, and I've requested an application. It's on its way. So maybe we can open up a line of communication here because I'm going to be obtaining a passport from the state of Nevada. That's what I'm doing right now. So I want to let the director know that I think now that I know there's a passport available, you actually the state is offering a way to end this confusion. Because it's a misuse of those descriptors, and this identity theft passport will eliminate that confusion between the assumed business name that I'm using and the state-owned name, which is where the descriptors are attached to that name. That's where the problem. That's where the liability is for the state.
We have to make sure, not presume, that's what they can do. And that they're not talking about that. You're going to have to tell them, I need you to identify who exactly is getting the passport, what's getting the passport, and the agency position for the one holding the passport.
Well, who's getting the passport when I get a USA passport?
You know what? I'm just not so sure yet.
I know, because they told me.
Well, I don't necessarily trust some of them.
The holder. So if I'm the holder of the name, then the passport holder, which has the surname and given name which matches the name holder, is the same the same man. See, they refer in when you're talking about passport holders, they refer to them as men and women.
Right.
Okay, cannot be an entity. It has to be a man or a woman.
Right. I know the assumed business name, just like the assumed business name cannot have a driver license.
Yeah.
They cannot have a passport. I know that.
Right. So I'm thinking you call something a passport, that's for a man or a woman. It can't be issued to, in other words, there's either a passport or an identification. And a passport, we already know, is not an identification. If it's a passport, it's not an ID.
Well, I guess I would, like to know for sure. Just fully confirm it that when you issue a passport, and I want the special type of passport where I am the woman as a Montanan, not getting, that I can come freely or do business within the United States, because you can't enter the United States.
Right.
All you're asking is for permission to come into the commercial zone.
Right. Or to pass through. Pass through.
So that's what we have to know. Am I passing through your commercial zone, or am I passing through the actual land?
Well, when you're passing through, they can't tax you. Okay, like a pass-through entity. A pass-through entity means one that has no reporting requirements.
Right.
There's they don't have to pat you down. They don't. This is I was telling Gail said maybe this is how you get by the TSA, and I said hell yes.
It is how you get by the TSA. I know somebody has a friend that has one of those.
Identity theft passport. They have one.
No, they have the other kind with the 5 stars on it.
And how did they get that? What is that? I never heard of that.
Well, okay, so there's different kinds of passports for the capacity you're going to want to pass through.
Right. If you're on an international flight, a state of Nevada passport's not going to do you any good.
Right.
A state of Nevada passport is what I should have to hand to to any government actor that happens to accidentally pull me over. And you know what they'll then say? Then they'll say, then they'll say, well, listen, you need to put something on your vehicle to let me know that you're a passport holder.
Passport office, a very, very specific request. Knowing all this information that we know, he was able to write other and explain it very clearly and then ask them what type of passport that suits his situation. We're not going to guess anymore. So he provided all the proper information, his declaration of status. He referenced all of that and explained in his explanation box exactly the purpose for the passport and what type he would, that would suit these needs. We're
Right.
not just going to fill those out and presume because, again, we've been told there are varying types of passports.
Right. Yeah.
So, again, if you didn't know certain information, and see, he put the trademark infringement information along with this to the passport office. So we're telling them we need a specific type of passport that doesn't cause infringements here.
And what are they saying?
We don't know. He just sent it out a week and a half ago.
Oh, okay. All right. And this is State Department, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because
Cool.
if you're going to do anything, you might as well do it international and be done with it.
Yeah, see, they must.
International people-
So that's like Virginia or whatever, right? Their office in Virginia.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. See, that's where their theft unit is. They have a theft unit too. Identity theft.
Right. And so, we have to be really careful filling out these forms now. And there's plenty of boxes. By the way, on that passport, it says if certain things do not apply, you have to cross it out with a line.
Which one are you talking about? Are you talking about the DS11?
Yeah, there's that form, and so Gene follows those instructions very, very carefully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this page, by the way, the state of Nevada, Adam Paul Laxalt. It says it at the top. Adam Paul Laxalt. In all caps, right at the top, Nevada Attorney General Adam Paul Laxalt. And then below, so this page was last updated 11/20/2017. So that was less than a year ago. That wasn't very long ago. They're updating all this stuff, and they have a northern and southern Nevada office for the Attorney General. So I'm dealing with the one in Carson City just because that's where the capital is.
Montana doesn't have the Real ID Act.
Oh.
There's been talk in Montana about, you won't be able to be on planes.
Right.
State ID, blah, blah, blah.
Right. So there's pressure. Isn't there pressure on the state legislature then to pass a bill?
Yes, there is, and they're not wanting to do it.
And is it because of pressure from people saying no, we don't want one of those?
Yes.
Okay. I just saw something in the news recently, and I don't know if it was old news or rehashing about some group. One guy that's the leader of some group, Freedom Group, was arrested, but I don't know if that's old news just being rehashed or
That's Ernie.
Ernie. What's the name of the group? It's kind of a distinct name. It's Freedom.
I don't know what's the name of the
Montana Freedom Fighters or something like that.
Is this one, was it posted on Facebook the other day?
I think that's where I may have seen something about it. It stuck out because
Ernie the Natural Man.
and it had a picture of him there. Yeah.
Yeah, shoot. If you see the one first video of him yelling, that's Wanda, who I'm dealing with over in Manhattan. Wanda's husband played at my wedding. Great, fabulous Jerry and his brother Chip were fabulous musicians when they played at my wedding. I know Wanda since I was 8 years old. She's the judge. And you see this young boy in the video in the first one? That's Adrian. That's my young one.
Oh my gosh.
So when everybody found out, Wanda just smiled at me and tapped me with her pen. I said, "Hey, Wanda, how you doing?" Because I wanted to see what was going to happen.
Right. And she's a judge?
Yeah, that's Wanda.
So what kind of judge is she though? Is she like a justice of the?
She's the judge for the two towns. On Wednesday, she's over in Three Forks. On Monday, she's in Manhattan.
But is she a justice of the peace? Is she does she have a bar
City court
license?
judge.
What's that?
She's the city court judge. And for a little while, she was the justice of the peace.
So she's not a bar licensed attorney.
No. She worked for Judge Olson as a clerk for a lot of years.
Okay, all right. So she knows.
My friend Joanne, me and Wanda at times, we worked in Bozeman and we carpool. And I dropped the two gals off at the courthouse.
So what is this Wanda? What does Wanda think of the whole thing about the legal name, the assumed
The
business
name
name?
and the information I'm giving to her,
Yeah.
I haven't heard from Wanda.
Okay.
I sent it to her clerk, and her clerk asked for her. So Sherry's one that got real nasty. But Wanda has not talked to me. She hasn't called me up, and I haven't run into her at the bank or anything
Okay.
lately.
All right. Yeah, when it's a small town like that, everyone knows each other, and it's like they're probably less apt to do something. That this guy here, when I was listening, I was at Greco's hearing. What they ended up doing, so what they did was, he ended up getting a public defender. They accused him of stealing $30,000. He knows the guy who has a criminal record who was starting the fires. There were like 15 fires started within a 1 block radius of this where this guy lives. And so he went to the fire department and said, I know where the guy is that's starting all these fires. He rides a bike, and I did a little investigating, and every one of those fires, you can see the same bike tracks. I know where he is. And apparently they visited him, and the next day he was gone. He never came back. And so but the fire chief is a Mormon. He's the one that is pressing all this stuff, telling the insurance company that Anthony Greco is the one who started the fires. And Anthony Greco is saying, I know who did it, and it's not me. I'm the one that's telling the fire department who did it, and they're trying to tell me I'm the one that did it. And they're ignoring the information that I have. And he has it all documented. He's got pictures of the bike tracks. He's got pictures of this guy. It's all documented. He actually went and filed a lawsuit against this judge, $500 million, and got a default judgment. In other words, the judge just let it go, and the clerk stamped it. And I said, okay. And then they did something afterwards, right? And he goes, yeah. That one of the other judges said that they met on the case and they dismissed everything. And I said, no. I said, here's the deal. You still have that paperwork? He said, yep. I said, we're going to register Anthony Greco's name. We're going to get a power of attorney, and we're going to get an abstract of judgment that proves that that's an actual judgment, because we're going to be able to prove that that name is not the state-owned name. That's the name your mom and dad gave, and you have a judgment against this person. And it's accurate because the clerk of the court has a stamp on there. Then they're going to have to find some way to get around that. And I don't think there is a way to get around it. And then I told them, I said, so it's the fire captain or fire chief. I said, then if we get an abstract, we go to the human resources department and we garnish the wages. So you take 25% out of his paycheck and you lien any property that's in that name, the state-owned name. So the judgment is the state-owned name, which is the judge's name. Then you just have to prove that the plaintiff is not the state-owned name. It's the private citizen. It's a name that has a trademark and that mom and dad gave, that was created before the Anthony Greco, that this guy misused the identification, the what did you call them? Identifiers and descriptors. They use that term descriptor in the definition.
It's in Social Security all over the place.
Okay.
Identifiers and descriptors.
Okay.
Identifiers has to do with account. You're identifying account.
Mm-hmm. And descriptors.
Those are characteristics of those accounts.
Right, and
what they do is they confuse people by giving descriptors like 5'6"
Right. Right. Instead of descriptors like the type of form, number. That's a descriptor.
Right, and so what's happening is the police, and so ultimately what they're doing is they create an account, give it a name, and then they're describing the agent for it.
Got it. Got it.
So
So see,
identifier the account and the legal name that they gave it, and that's what creates the person, and then you've got the agent for it. Because that's the way their system works. That if there is an agent for it.
right.
You
Right.
have to have somebody acting for everything in their two-dimensional paper world.
Mm-hmm. So all
You
these,
you cannot presume, and this is what I'm warning you, you can use language, it appears, or it may be the state creative person.
well, I'm looking at this thing online and I just realized something. This says documents you will need to file a police report, not to file, not to file the application for the passport.
Yeah, I saw that. You have, and then.
So filing the police report, they're saying, is what you have to do. I'm going to say, hey, well, I did one better. I filed a claim with the Attorney General's office, and all right, a consumer protection, and all of that report actually covers the identity theft.
Yeah, because here's the game they play. Well, I think that's a civil matter. We don't look into that. That's a civil matter.
No, it's not. It's criminal.
I know, but this is the bullshit that the stupid their agents at the local level are.
Right.
Right, they are, and I'm just saying. That's why I told you go straight to the top under consumer protection, because now that's deceptive business practices.
Right. Right. So the state attorney general's office is the last one that should be doing that.
Right, because you have consumer protection, you have deceptive business practices, and which are unlawful business practices. So it's called unlawful and deceptive business practices.
Right.
UPA.
Nevada deceptive. They call it deceptive business practice.
Unlawful and deceptive business practices. That's what we call it here.
Okay, I'm just going to put Nevada on deceptive business practice and see what I get. In Nevada, the elements for a claim of deceptive trade practices are found in the following statutes. NRS 598.0915, deceptive trade practice defined. A person engages in a deceptive trade practice if, in the course of his or her business or occupation, he or she, okay, I have to click on this to see what the rest of it is. They've actually got a web page devoted to this. Deceptive trade practices is what they're calling it. Unfair trade practice. Okay, here we go. Occupation, he or she, number one, knowingly passes off goods or services for sale or lease as those of another person.
I told you, that's the trademark infringement right there.
Right. Number two, knowingly makes a false representation as to the source, sponsorship, approval, or certification of goods or services for sale or lease. Number three, knowingly makes a false representation as to affiliation, connection, association with, or certification by another person. Number four, uses deceptive representations or designations of geographic origin in connection with goods or services for sale or lease. There's where they're trying to attach an address. 5, knowingly makes a false representation as to the characteristics, ingredients, uses, benefits, alterations, or quantities of goods or services for sale or lease, or a false representation as to the sponsorship, approval, status, affiliation, or connection of a person therewith.
Yeah, see what they're wrongfully doing is they're coming in and taking the trademark property as it's a business.
Oh, here we go. Represents. So this is, let me reread this. Okay, at the top it says a person engages in a deceptive trade practice if, in the course of his or her business or occupation, he or she, this is number 6, represents that goods for sale or lease are original or new if he or she knows or should know that they are deteriorated, altered, reconditioned, reclaimed, or secondhand.
There you go. And so what they've done is either
They're using a secondhand name and then attaching descriptors to it that don't apply.
Right. But here's the biggie. When they then took your fingerprints and images and autographs by force for under their deceptive business practice here, they now took property of the assumed business name because they falsely came in as an attorney in fact. See, in the past, until you assert the registration of a name, the trademark property of that name, the common law trademark, and power of attorney, they presume in all matters you're using one of their personas of these different agencies and that they have power of attorney over it. But what's happening is they're not listening to us when we say, no, we're not an agent for whatever got charged. No, you don't get to use anything that belongs to the assumed business name that's under trademark. And no, so
All of these things really apply. Here's another one. Advertises goods or services as being available free of charge with intent to require payment of undisclosed costs as a condition of receiving the goods or services.
that's all these courts are doing.
Right there. That's what they're doing. They're saying it's free of charge. Oh, we can give you this free.
It's a public courthouse. It's for your commercial safety. I told you don't want to mess with Tracy and I.
Advertises goods or services for sale or lease with intent not to supply reasonably expectable public demand unless the advertisement discloses a limitation of quantity.
And remember, everything in the world is that two-dimensional, intellectual, intangible, nothingness of ideas and concepts. See, that's all they trade in. Opinions and theories.
Look at this one. Disparages the goods, services, or business of another person by false or misleading representation of fact.
There you go.
These are all things that they're doing in the court. You're right.
Exactly.
Knowingly makes any other false representation in a transaction. That's a transaction.
Because I read this all.
Are you looking at the same thing I am, deceptive trade practice, or is it just the same definition that Montana has?
Same one.
Same definition?
Yeah, it's all uniform.
Now, underneath that, it says deceptive trade practice defined. A person engages in a deceptive trade practice when, in the course of his or her business or occupation, he or she disseminates an unsolicited, pre-recorded message to solicit a person to purchase goods or services by telephone. And he or she does not have a pre-existing business relationship with the person being called unless a recorded or unrecorded natural voice, number one, informs the person who answers the telephone call of the nature of the call, and number two, provides to the person who answers the telephone call the name, address, and telephone number of the business or organization, if any, represented by the caller. Well, that's weird. So, a person who there's another one. When in the course of his or her business, he or she employs bait and switch advertising, which consists of an offer to sell or lease goods or services which the seller or lessor, in truth, may not intend or desire to sell or lease, accompanied by one or more of the following practices: refusal to show the goods advertised, disparagement in any material respect of the advertised goods or services or the terms of sale or the lease, requiring other sales or other undisclosed conditions to be met before selling or the leasing of advertised goods or services, refusal to take orders for the sale or lease of goods or services advertised for delivery within a reasonable time. Wow, refusal to take orders. Showing or demonstrating defective goods for sale or lease which are unusable or impractical for the purposes set forth in the advertisement. accepting a deposit for the goods or services for sale or lease, and subsequently switching the purchase order or lease to a higher priced goods or services, tendering a lease of goods advertised for sale or a sale of goods advertised for lease, or tendering terms of sale or lease less favorable than the terms advertised. And then it goes on, there's another one. Uses threatening or intimidating, profane, or obscene language. Repeated or continuously conducts the solicitation or presentation in a manner that is considered by a reasonable person to be annoying, abusive, or harassing. Solicits a person by telephone at his or her residence between 8 p.m. and 9 a.m. Blocks or otherwise intentionally circumvents any service used to identify the caller when placing an unsolicited telephone call.
See, and here's something good in Montana. Whenever the department, and that's the DOJ, has reason to believe that a person under the Unfair Trade Practices Act and has used or is about to knowingly use any method, act, or practice declared to be unlawful, and that proceeding would be in the public interest, the department may bring an action in the name of the state against temporary or permanent injunction.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this deceptive trade practices. I mean, it's long.
Yeah, it's all under the consumer protection stuff.
So here's one. Let's see. This is another one. It's through the use of a false, deceptive, or misleading affiliation, connection, or association between a performing group and a recording group. Performing group and a recording group. The performing group is the authorized registrant and owner of a federal service mark comprising in whole or dominant part the mark or name of that group registered in the United States Patent and Trademark Office. At least one member of the performing group was a member of the recording group and has a legal right by virtue of the use or operation under the group name without having abandoned the name or affiliation with the group.
See, and you've had continuous use of the name from the day your mom gave it to you.
Right.
That's why common law trademark is superior to anything registered. And by the way, it says under trademark stuff, you have to enforce it yourself. They're just a registry. They don't enforce or police it at all. You have to enforce it. But what they do is the United States just registers that information.
But who enforces deceptive trade practice? That's the Attorney General.
Now that's different. So you have to police the infringement. You have to send cease and desist notices. You have to be active in that.
So I have to be the one.
Evidence of the infringement.
Right. See, that's why you have to take an active stance, call them, and request that form, that identity theft form, be mailed.
Yes.
It takes action. You can't just go there and get it for free. You have to ask for it.
Yes.
That's part of
All
it.
having to do with protecting trademark and all that too.
They can't show that they're helping you in any way. You have to make the request, but then if you make the request, they have to give it to you.
Right. Everything. See, we're figuring out in the cease and desist notice from trademark infringement. There's certain language that we're going to go in there and use. That's why we're reading other forms.
Guess.
And make them send back an acknowledgement. That way, then if they do infringe upon it at a future date, we can come into any situation with the consumer protection, the DOJ, for their unlawful deceptive practices. Because we now have evidence that they were fully informed. They sent back the acknowledgement, and then they proceeded to do this a year later.
Right.
Now you've got the harm to the property, and that's the issue right there. You've got evidence of the harm. See, they can't harm a living being, but they can harm the existing property. And the property the existing has is the licensing agreement to use that trademark information and property, the signatures, images, and all that of the living being.
Right. You know, this stuff about that I'm reading off that was compiled here was compiled by an attorney. And it's got his information on here. I should probably call him. Say, hey, you want to make some money?
If he can go up against his
I know. That would be the question. It's like, wait a minute. You know, if you're following everything that the law says, they can't fucking take your license away, can they?
Well, but here's the thing that we're uncovering too, Doug. Not all of these attorneys know this shit of persons and all that. We're seeing that there was a lawsuit in which the woman won. It was against for example, like a Marriott hotel that she was staying in for not paying the bill. And what she saw was that on the receipt they said that she was the payee and they were the payor. And so she said, "Fine, I'm not paying you," and they couldn't get her out of the hotel because under the law, if you're the payee and blah blah blah.
And she was saying that I'm not the payee. I'm not paying you.
I'm not the yes. They had reversed it, so they got and asked the attorney to take her to court and everything, and she brought up the issue. Also, excuse me, just a second, let me take a drink of water.
Sure.
She brought up the issue that they were going after the wrong person, using the wrong descriptors and identifiers. So she knew some of that information,
Right.
and the judge had no choice but to give it to her. And the attorney was getting mad and like, you can't do this. And the judge tried to explain it to him. You sued the wrong person. No, I didn't. Blah 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 blah. I know somebody who knows her, this woman.
Is she still in the hotel?
She told him firsthand.
Is she?
And the attorney didn't get it.
Is she still in the hotel?
That was quite a while ago, so no. But the attorney that did the suing didn't even know how he lost. And the judge tried to explain it to him. And he was, I'm going to appeal this. And the judge said, go right ahead, but you're going to lose. You sued the wrong person. The attorney did not get it. And so we were discussing that amongst ourselves last night, Gene Tracy and I, and that's evidence right there that when you talk to some of these attorneys, they don't have a freaking clue as to how they can lose. He thought he had a slam dunk. And even when the judge tried to explain it to him,
He didn't get it.
he still didn't get it.
And what was it that she was right?
Yes. She was not the one that had to pay. And then he sued the wrong person. And that's what's going on right now, holding our friend James captive. They've now misidentified the wrong person and have harmed him, and there doesn't even appear to be a warrant. We could not find any warrant in the system. So the last issue he did have, so what we're thinking that they did was they saw him quote driving and probably called each other up and said, oh, it's James Montgomery out there again. He's driving without a license. We checked in the system. It's suspended. And, he's out in the grocery store. Let's go in there and nab him and take him off to jail and tell him what we have a warrant out for his arrest for driving without a license.
Right.
In my understanding, there can only be a warrant when you fail to do something already before court. If they had an issue with him, they should have ticketed him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if there's no warrant, and I went in online, and as of July 1st, there was no warrant. No warrant at all.
Right.
So,
Look, I just found something. This is under truecounsel.com. trucounsel.com. It's Federal Rules of Evidence. Rule 902, evidence that is self-authenticating. And then they have under the rules, the following items of evidence are self-authenticating. They require no extrinsic evidence of authenticity in order to be admitted. Okay, so the first category is domestic public documents that are sealed and signed. a document that bears A, a seal purporting to be that of the United States, any state, district, commonwealth, territory, or insular possession of the United States, the former Panama Canal Zone, the trust territory of the Pacific Islands, a political subdivision of any of these entities, or a department, agency, or officer of any entity named above, and B, a signature purporting to be an execution or attestation. Then number 2 is domestic public documents that are not sealed. So my question is, what are the ones that are sealed and signed? What are those documents? Okay, and then they say ones that are not sealed and signed and certified. Okay, a document that bears no seal if it bears the signature of an officer or employee or of an entity named in Rule 902(1)(a), which is the section I just read above. Another public officer who has a seal and official duties within the same entity certifies under seal or its equivalent that the signor has the official capacity and the signature is genuine. So this is what I'm thinking their charges. When they do the charges, they're using that name, and that is self-authenticating that information in the state. Then it has foreign public documents. So that would be probably information from another state that is being introduced. Okay, they consider that foreign. Okay. It says, order that it be treated as presumptively authentic without final certification. So that's what a driver's license is, in my opinion. It's presumptively authentic, but it doesn't have the final certification.
And we are thinking that the driver license has hidden licensing agreements because they do everything under patents and trademark and licensing agreements, everything.
Okay, now look what's under this one. This is A. So this is this is number 4. This is a separate one. Certified copies of public records. A copy of an official record or a copy of a document that was recorded or filed in a public office as authorized by law, if the copy is certified as correct by the custodian, this is A, the custodian or another person authorized to make the certification, or B, a certificate that complies with Rule 902(1), 2, or 3, a federal statute or a rule prescribed by the Supreme Court. Then it goes to 5, which is official publications, a book, pamphlet, or other publication purporting to be issued by a public authority.
Because they are holder of their written permission and records and can attest to it.
Right, and those are the legal notices. Newspapers and periodicals is next, and then they go to trade inscriptions and the like. An inscription, a sign, a tag, or label purporting to have been affixed in the course of business and indicating origin, ownership, or control.
Right. So look at when you have the descriptor on the top of, District Court, Gallatin County, State of Montana, 18th District Court. There you go. They've identified everything and, who's controlling the file.
Right.
What file it is.
Right.
Okay. And then the court can sign off on anything because she is the custodian, the ultimate trustee.
So when it's
that record and that information.
So this is information that the federal code says is self-authenticated. In other words, it's self-evident. So
Right.
you don't have to do any more as long as you've published it, you've registered it, and then it says certified domestic records of a regularly conducted activity. The original or a copy of a domestic record that meets the requirements of Rule 803, which I haven't seen what that is, as shown by certification of the custodian or another qualified person that complies with a federal statute or a rule prescribed by the Supreme Court. Before the trial or hearing, the proponent must give an adverse party reasonable written notice of the intent to offer the record. and must make the record and certification available for inspection so that the party has a fair opportunity to challenge them. So this is where we would say we're regularly using that name and regularly conducting activity, which is business, using that name as an assumed business name, not as the state-owned name, which is a first and last name.
Right. And see, my friend Eric up here, we know more. Okay, so the local county district attorney hates him, and so she was out to get him on something. We all knew it too.
Sure.
And anyway, they sent a document in the mail to him, and he wrote on it and returned it, and then they accused him of defacing a public document. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they were doing the trial, setting him up for trial and all this crap. And the attorney general had to step in and did, and said, absolutely not. You placed that in the mail. That is not a document that was a record under custodial care.
Yeah, see, they did the same thing with the passport. They cannot take custodial care of that passport unless they can prove defacement, and they tricked the State Department into thinking there was defacement, which is why the State Department returned it so quickly and apologized. See, they apologized over and over and over again, and I was like, wow, they're being so cautious about all this. I wonder why. And it's because what you just said is, so the State Department creates the passport.
Right.
I'm the holder. I'm the one that's authorized to hold on to that. They are not authorized to hold on to it.
They're not authorized to hold. They're not a holder. That's right.
And so they were trying to say it was defaced, and they were lying. And so that's theft. That qualifies as theft. They took that and refused to give it back to the holder, and they're not authorized to do that.
Exactly, they're not authorized to do that. They were not authorized to make a determination, as to the rules of the State Department and its property.
See, and I put that in the claim. I put the paperwork that I got from the court that shows this detective Dillion. They intentionally changed his name.
Right.
It's Dylan, and they added an I in there. And then it wasn't signed. It was signed by this.
We're finding this practice, and we're seeing this is consistent business practice. So it must be their business model that they are purposefully. Okay, so in one case, my friend Eric, and we've gotten on to this big time. So you have the order against the person. Now you're going to love this because I think we figured it out last night what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I won't tell you.
And this is under the deceptive business practices.
Yeah, this would be deceptive. Or it may be like I said, these hidden licensing agreements that are going on. So within one court case, we see Eric T. Newhouse, Eric Thomas Newhouse, Mr. Newhouse. Okay, that's 5 different entities in one order off of one case, right?
Right.
Well, guess what we think they're doing?
They're considering those different persons.
There's probably their interest. They screened their person that's going to have an interest in the matter, and they've named their piece of the pie. So one piece of the pie to the prosecutor would be Eric T. Newhouse. Then the state piece of the pie is Eric Thomas Newhouse. Then the police department maybe cut of the pie and release it like.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Then the county's cut of the pie is Mr. Newhouse.
They're divvying up the pie.
They're giving us the pie and they're naming their piece. I think so that has to be a licensing agreement when that happens.
Yeah, like the case, the state of Nevada versus it says Douglas Joseph Herrick, aka Douglas Joseph.
Oh, there you go. That's two pieces of pie right there. Now, you need to identify Douglas Joseph. You need to identify Douglas Joseph Herrick, and you need to identify Douglas Herrick because those are two different entities, two different pieces of pie. They're operating in different capacities, all with different identifiers, descriptors, and accounts.
You know what? One of the things the detective told me, this is the fat ass detective Dylan. This is where this guy is involved in the first pullover on May 3rd. The state troopers who didn't touch me. He came up to me with this big old gut and hands me his business card. I still have it, and he says, "Hey, can we get together? I'd love to, sit down and pick your brain." He wanted to meet. Well, then I tried to get a hold of him, and now all of a sudden he changed his mind, I guess. He doesn't want to get together. Well, remember, he was there when the film crew was there. He was the one who supposedly sent the passport to the agency. I'm trying to get a hold of him, though, all during the month of May.
That's why they changed the character involved to Dillian. That was done on purpose.
Of course, but it's the same guy. That's deceptive practices right there. You're trying to say you're not this guy, but I know it's you. You're the one that's behind this. It's Morgan Dillon that's behind this, and I have the business card with the correct spelling on here. That's deceptive trade practices. You're trying to say that this guy Dillian is the one who had authorization to take that passport.
Right.
And of course he'll say, "Well, that's not me." Well, then who created this document? That's a sheriff document. That's coming from the sheriff's office.
Right. Then who's responsible for this entity called Dillian?
The sheriff. It would be the sheriff's department that would be responsible because it's being represented as a detective. That's an actor, an agent of that agency.
Right.
So it would be the sheriff that's going to take the hit for that, for the deceptive trade practices. That's what that is. That's deceptive trade practice right there.
We are seeing this as the standard operating procedure.
Yeah.
We're seeing in the final orders from these assholes that there is consistently, and I mean consistently, anywhere from 2 to 5 entities created. And those are that is their account pieces of pie. They are absolutely telling you straight up, we've created all these names to represent our interest in the game.
So now when if there's a plea, do they have the defendant then sign under all these different names?
Yes.
And of course, I've never signed one thing. I've never signed one thing for any of these court cases.
Now do you see why in Adrian's matter, the entity charged with Adrian Etienne Lemieux, then the court uses at one point Adrian Lemieux, and then the prosecutor uses Miss Dawn Lemieux. That's their interest. They divided it 3 ways. One is for quote a parent. Miss Dawn Lemieux is the parent interest that they created.
Right.
Adrian Lemieux is the Manhattan City Court interest, and Adrian Etienne Lemieux is the state motor vehicle department interest.
Right.
They put it at 3 ways, and they're even naming their interest. They've given a name to their interest file. There is this identifier account number. You've got 3 different parties, and so it's like.
And you're saying that each name has a different agency attached to it?
Okay, yeah, so each name in there, it makes sense to me, is the licensing interest of the party that has an interest in it. So that they don't get confused. Why else would they use 5 different names in one court order and then have his co-defendant that was charged, Eric Thomas Newhouse, sign when they, because he's signing away all the interest over to the pie being cut up.
Right. Yep. Yeah, just like Nancy Braddock, who was the corporate who called over the phone and told Gail that the court made a mistake and they changed the date. So the whale dog company had it January 23rd. She's saying no, you got to go by December 4th. You got to be here, which is this coming Monday, otherwise we're warned. What is that? Okay. All right. So yeah, if she hadn't showed up, they would have rejected. Right. But we cannot come here at the and that's what I'm saying to the public defender now. I said that's why you're going to get arrested. You're gonna save it. You're gonna save that defendant from itself. He was supposed to meet with me and he didn't show. So I recorded the whole thing, the conversation I had with him on the phone when he did not show up. And so I told him, I said, listen, I was going to waive my fee because I normally charge $5,000 an hour. But I normally, with a consultation like our first meeting, I will waive the fee. But now, twice now, you've seen me out. The first time I gave you a pass. The second time, there's no pass. And he was trying to reschedule. I said, no, we're not getting the meeting. I said, there were two times I gave you a chance. So I've done the best I can to try and sit out with you. But now we're going to move instead to listen to me. Because I have all this information I want to protect you. So obviously, you've got too much on your plate. And he's like, well, I can meet with you tomorrow. I'm like, no, I'm busy tomorrow. Plus, I don't work for free. You don't work for free. Do you? And he's like, no. I said, well, I don't either. And the reason I'm here is not because of that defendant thing. That's the reason you need to be here. I'm here to make sure you understand that activity is not the thing that I do. You're the only one that can defend me. I can't do that. I'm the attorney in fact. And I keep trying to tell these people that they don't seem to understand. So that's why a claim has been filed with the Attorney General's office. And now here's the thing that you're going to do. Okay? You're going to do what we need to do. You're working now for that state company. We've got to be able to prove that that state company is not the name that I'm using. So there's what you do. Get those cases. And the first thing you want to do is just credit this person guilty. Because he's supposedly he was intimidated by something that I supposedly said. There's a case that's taken on that. He's trying to say I'm the devil's advocate and trying to get his defense. And I got to prove that that's not the case and that it's self-authenticating. It's self-evident. Why? Because we assume this name is right here, and guess what? My mom and dad gave me that name first. I'm the one who's it first, not the state of California. He didn't. He just listened. And I said, so, this is like I'm doing a favor to you, and you need to let the state, the district attorney know too, that all these charges are going to be subjugated. If they're trying to say it's attached to the assumed business, they're all going to be subjugated, which is absolutely good for the DA. So, what I'm going to suggest is that you let them know that this claim is actually exposing what they're trying to do. So they may want to double think. Right. Yeah, oh, I get it. I understand. Well, the information to create the name they're using came from an original source. Right. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm just misusing the term. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Right, and that information will stay in there unless a user requests that it be discarded, and the user can't be us. Okay, look what I found. Right, I found something. It's a brochure. When they first came out with this identity theft program, it was a different attorney general. They actually have the identity theft laws in Nevada. NRS 205.463 makes it a crime to use the personal identifying information of another individual with the intent to fraudulently obtain credit, property, or services. It also takes into account computer and internet technology by making it a crime to aid or abet another person in securing this personal identifying information. So right there, when that cop was talking on the phone, getting that information, that's aiding and abetting in. Right, and that's why he didn't touch me. Okay, so now the end of this kind of interesting. Anyone convicted of using another person's identity can be punished with up to 20 years in prison and a $100,000 fine. Well, isn't that interesting that the maximum for the claim is $100,000?
Right.
So in a claim, you would just file a claim for every actor.
Yes.
Every actor, because the max is $100,000.
Yeah, and where they screwed up in your matter is, okay, they did not infringe upon the state information. They verified it. State of California.
Right.
They didn't infringe upon that. There was no identity theft there. But when he was informed that there was a business name with property and all of that, okay,
Mm-hmm.
they infringed upon that.
Right. See, here they say 4 important steps all identity theft victims should take. Number 1, file a report with your local law enforcement agency and apply for a Nevada identity theft program card. First thing you do. Second thing you do, close the accounts that you know or believe have been tampered with or wrongfully opened. So that would be...
I still, knowing that they only see apple to apple here, I'm positive all they're talking about is any other agency person that has had his identity stolen.
Well, they're making assumptions that this is bank related. It's credit card theft because it says call and speak with someone in the security or fraud department of the bank or credit card company. Follow up each call in writing. Okay, so what if it's not a bank? What if it's the DMV and it's that account there?
Well, okay, again.
So I'm just, wait a minute. I'm just going with, they're saying these are the 4 steps. Okay, so that's the second one. The third step is place a fraud alert or freeze on your credit reports and review your credit reports. I did that. That's one of the things I already did. I said someone's misusing the name on there, and that helped with when I started disputing them. There was a fraud alert on there.
Okay, but the fraud alert can only be the fraud alert for the assumed business name.
I understand that, but they're telling us this here. And I did it, and I got all those accounts eliminated.
Right.
So I'm just telling you, they're telling us what to do. And there's one more thing. I had already done number 3. It's done. Number 4, file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission. Filing a complaint with the FTC will give law enforcement agencies across the nation important information to help them track down and stop identity thieves. The Federal Trade Commission may refer complaints to other agencies for further action, as well as investigate companies for violations of related laws. You can file a complaint on the FTC's website at www.consumer.gov.id theft. So,
But you have to prove, okay, this is, we talked this over here. The thing is, you have to confirm, are they charging the assumed business name? Did they steal the identity of the assumed business name, or, because it does not look like it. Anytime we're dealing with these people, like in the Adrian Etienne Lemieux matter, alright, it's not, they used an entity similar. So they did not steal anything from Adrian Etienne Davis Lemieux. They did not do that. But what they did do was they infringed and caused confusion.
you have to tell them where the theft occurred. Where did it occur?
See, I have no evidence that they stole anything or even charged.
I do. I have evidence of where the theft occurred in Nye County. And guess what? On this identity theft program application form, they ask you, Please visit the appropriate law enforcement agency based on, number one, where the theft occurred.
Okay, so what did they steal?
They stole the information, identity. They stole the identity. The Nye County Sheriff's Office is where it occurred. That's what they're asking you. Where did it occur? Nye County Sheriff's Office, right there. Where the theft occurred.
Okay, Dad, please, I'm gonna be devil's advocate here. I don't think they stole what they did was they infringed upon the trademark once they got the, look, they can create whatever file they want. They can name it anything they want. The problem is when they come in and take property which you may have. So you see, in the instance matter of like Adrian's situation, they did not come in and take any property of Adrian and Lemieux.
I'm not saying that they took property. I'm saying it's identity theft.
Identity theft is when they know it, they can create any name that they want. They can give it descriptors.
Yeah, that's all intangible. There's nothing tangible.
I know that, but there's no
It could still be stolen.
I know that. But, okay, so if you're gonna go off with identity theft claims, where your situation is, and I see, I agree. You might have something, and I'm just laying this out so it's all very clear before claims are made. You don't make any claims that can't be supported.
This is just an application. This is not a claim and it's not a complaint. It's an identity theft application. Now, what's interesting, I just found this. It says type of identity theft incident associated with this application. Check all that are applicable. The number one, wait a minute. The number one choice is credit card. That means that's what the most of these complaints or applications are about. The second one is checking or savings account. The third one is loan. The fourth one is security or other investments. The fifth one is internet or email. The sixth one is government benefits. The seventh one is IRS social security number. And the eighth one is other records. So what are they doing? They're taking identity information and they're getting government benefits using that name. They are getting benefits. Where is this money coming from? It's coming from the government. Where are they getting it from? Well, it's revenue that's collected by the taxes. So they're getting paid by government benefits. It's using the IRS social security number and other records. And they're obtaining... Right. That's what I'm saying, is that this is the form right here, identity theft application. It's asking at the top. This is what you complete, and you give this application to law enforcement personnel. This is the report. You give it to them. You fill it out and you hand it to them. Then you mail to the Nevada office. Let's see, what does it say? Hang on here. I got to print this form out because I just found this thing. It's attached to a brochure. It's not on their website. And it's obvious. See, any of these forms that I'm finding that they have kind of hidden like this, they don't want us to have these forms. There's no control number at the bottom. Let's see, it says, by applying for the Nevada Identity Theft Program, I declare the information I've provided in my application is true and correct to the best of my knowledge. I understand my application is for a Nevada Identity Theft Program card only and is not an alternative form of identification or a request for the Nevada Office of the Attorney General to what does that say? to initiate any investigation or resolve any criminal actions. Right there. So it doesn't have anything to do with criminal acts or anything. That's not what this is about. It's about identity theft, and all you're doing is you're applying. This is what you're supposed to. It says complete this application with law enforcement personnel, then mail to the Nevada office of the Attorney General. So this is probably the application they're going to send to me. This is it right here. This is it. You're supposed to do it with the law enforcement agency. So it says applicant's signature. So I fill out the top part and then I bring it in. Applicant's information has been verified by agency personnel taking the report by these documents pursuant to NAC 205.050. Then it says a valid government issued photo identification card, for example, driver license, state issued ID card, or passport. Proof of Social Security. So see, all I have to do is show them those two things, give them this applicant's signature, and that's it.
Well, why are you going in there and using Social Security property?
Because this is what I'm telling. Okay, I know this is hard for you because what it says right here, it says documents you will need to file a police report. Now, normally when you file a police report, it's something that they take. This is what they're telling. I don't have to obtain something from them. I have to get them to sign acknowledging that there's a passport and proof of Social Security, which it would be like the SNAP card information. That's all they do. That's the report. That's it. That's a police report.
Okay, and I'm just saying, I am still not clear on what you're claiming was stolen.
Okay, the identity was stolen. They're taking information that is in the form of a Social Security number. They use that, and they also use the certificate of live birth.
Which doesn't belong to you.
Right, that's state owned, and they're trying to create an identity for a name that is not the assumed business name that I'm using.
They can do that if they want to.
Not when they're using those descriptors for the assumed business name. That's the part you're not getting, because on here it's the assumed business name.
I get it. Just listen to me. I get this extremely well because that's why I brought it to your attention. I do it very, very, very well.
It's the descriptors that come from the origin of that fucking name.
And they can do that. But did they use any of the assumed business name property? Because you can use all kinds of descriptors and information, and it's not identity theft. They are actually allowed to go to Social Security and verify that information and use it. They do it all the time. But did they use the descriptors of the assumed business name? The one that you may have a claim is did they use the assumed business name attorney-in-fact signature for their property?
No, it doesn't say that as part of the law, Don. I'll read it to you again. It says it makes it a crime to use the personal identifying information of another individual, which is what they're doing, with the intent to fraudulently obtain property. It also takes into account computer and internet technology, which would be the stuff you're talking about.
I know that. I get it. But I'm saying you have to do further due diligence. And
That's what this is. That's what this application is. It's not a complaint, Don. It's an application. It's not a complaint or a claim. It's an application for the form, for the passport.
I understand that.
It's just like an application for a USA passport, and they're saying, oh, you need to file a police report. What is filing a police report? It's going down there and filling out this form in front of them, just like, wait a minute, just like you do at the post office to get the fucking USA passport, only you don't need them to acknowledge anything other than here's the passport ID and here's proof of social security number. They sign it, and then you send that to the Nevada Attorney General. That's it. No fees, no fees.
I understand that, but I'm disagreeing with you in that you're still using somebody else's information for identifiers.
Okay, the law says they're using another individual's descriptors, identifying information of another individual. All I've got to prove is that the individual that they're using that name, that those descriptors for, is an assumed business name. And sorry, those descriptors don't fit that name. That's identity theft. They're trying to use the descriptors of that first and last name and associate it with the assumed business name. It's the opposite of what everyone else thinks this is for. It's 180 degrees, and I know now what I'm doing. I see this. This is simple stuff. This is so easy. I'm going to go down there. In fact, I'm printing this out. I know now this is the form that she's going to be sending me. And it's not a government form.
Okay, but you know what? I read your complaint to the AG's office, and you were wrong.
It's not a complaint.
I'm not saying complaint. I'm just saying information.
You just said complaint. It's a claim.
Will you just listen and not yell, please?
Okay, but it's not a complaint. They're two different things. You know that.
Ben, I was referencing to the information you put into what you called the complaint. I wasn't calling it a complaint. You need to listen.
I didn't call it a complaint. I called it a claim.
Your claim, okay?
And I referred to the assumed business name as the claimant.
Listen.
Yeah.
So just stop, okay? You're sometimes you get so around.
Well, you need to see this form is what I think the problem is. Because
I understand a lot of forms. I mean,
you haven't seen one like this.
probably not, but I should know how a lot of their forms read, and I know you do too. So what I'm saying is, in the claim you made to the AG, you didn't even have your information correct because you didn't even know what Gene Tracy and I have been trying to tell you for quite some time. You made presumptions. What I'm telling you is be very careful in making statements when you don't know all these hidden licensing agreements for these different personas and what information they can share and use as descriptors and what could be deemed as identity theft and what is not. I mean, you're going to have to be careful in how you lay it out because you didn't have your information correct when you made your claim.
But I never made a claim of identity theft, Dawn.
I didn't say that either.
But you're saying that I have to be careful if I'm going to make a claim of identity theft. I've never done it.
I know that. That's why I.
So where is the identity theft? This is where what I'm pointing to directly, and I guess you still don't see it. Where is the identity theft? Where is it?
When you go in and you understand that anybody can use a name, anybody can use descriptors.
Yeah, but we're not talking about any descriptors. We're talking about descriptors that are attached and associated already by the state of California to a birth name that is on a certificate of live birth that originated by the state of California. They already told me they're going to help me straighten this out. So what I'm saying is that what I see is the identity theft that's occurring is what's going to damage the state. It is not going to damage me. That's why this is not a claim. It's an application.
Doug, you're not letting me finish talking. I know that. I know this stuff very, very well.
Okay, so what I'm saying is I think I found something.
And you may have found something,
Okay, so there's two different things here though. There's one thing you're talking about the requirements that the state attorney general has. What I'm talking about is what the requirements are for the police department. When you go down there and they say you have to file a police report, all you're doing is showing them the application. Then you're saying, here's a passport, because they don't say anything about a certificate of live birth. It's a state ID or a passport.
I know that, but just listen without just, listen.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, you're going to have to nail them on identity theft with issues of, did they use the automatic?
Okay, wait a minute. I'm going to stop you again. This is not a claim or a complaint. It is an application to get a passport.
I know, but you have a complaint, and I understand.
That doesn't have anything to do with this application. It's totally separate. The worst thing that can happen here is they say, sorry, your application was denied. I'm not accusing anyone of identity theft.
I know that.
Well, then why are you saying I have to be careful?
Because it's going to all tie in together.
But I have to be accusing someone of identity theft in order for something bad to happen. You said it, complaint. This is not a complaint. It's an application. It's an application. It's just like an application for a USA passport.
I'm looking at the bigger picture.
They don't deny USA passports, do they?
I'm not saying that at all. I was trying to connect, and you're yelling again.
Well, it's because I see it so clearly now. They're not asking for the same thing that a USA passport. A USA passport, you have to bring in the state-owned name thing, okay? They're not asking for that. You can bring in a passport and use the passport to get another fucking passport.
I understand that.
It's easy.
You don't have to yell, but I'm just saying, we're just as passionate about this thing.
Who is you? Who is you?
Doug, you did many calls about it being the state name that you registered.
It doesn't matter. I can make all the mistakes I possibly can. If I get this, it's done. It doesn't fucking matter. Nothing else matters. This is what I'm trying to show you. You don't need any of that shit. This is an application. If they give me a fucking passport, I'm done.
I don't think so.
Well, that's why I'm trying to get you to look at this application. I have never seen anything like it.
We will be happy to look at, and we've looked at other applications, and there's a whole lot about equity that you don't even know about.
What other applications? I want to see other applications you're talking about.
Well, I've got to go in there and get them from different friends that are doing things on the equity side, on how to fill out a civil form sheet to go into equity, which is a non-statutory court, to get remedy on the private side.
Yeah, we don't belong there. We don't belong in any of that shit. This is it right here. It keeps us out of the court. They issue us a USA passport. You know what? I've never been bothered by the federal government in any way, shape, or form. I wonder why.
Well, you know what?
Ever. They've only helped me. So here's my point. The State Department. Well, all I'm saying is if there's a shortcut to all this shit, and it's got to be simple. It cannot be complicated. I already know that. And this is something that's extremely simple. See, when you say file a police report, what's your version of file a police report? See, I know you told me what I've done wrong, and now I have to correct it. Is what you're saying? It's not my property.
It's your visiting property.
Okay, but you just said your property. It's not mine.
No, what did I just say? If I said your, I'm talking about you do this thing and you're the attorney at that court.
Okay, but see, you try to convince them of that. Good luck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. That's where you're running into trouble here. That's
Have you ever been in an equity court? No, you haven't.
no, but it's not over. You're going on 13 years of it. So what I'm saying is, all I'm saying is, if there is a shortcut, I'm going to use it. And this looks like a fucking shortcut to me.
Look, if you want to use that, let me just say though, I've made all my claims, the land and the bill and the accounts, everything that owed to me, as the registration of this thing, everything that I was the energy that created on this mortgage issue. I now know how to properly go into the equity court because see, my issue was I didn't fill out the civil sheet in a very particular way, and they're not going to show it to you, and they don't have a sample.
I understand that. We don't even have those kind of courts that you're talking about.
Guess what? In Montana and everywhere you go, it's hidden court information that's never been repealed. And it says all district courts in Montana are clocked and vested with chancery.
Maybe. I don't know anything about that. I haven't seen any of that. Well, what I'm saying is the form that I'm looking at, see, when you talk about a claim form, that's not an application. When the word application is key here.
I know that.
It's key. What else do you have to file an application for? A passport or a state ID? You file an application, a driver license application. So the worst thing that can happen is they say, sorry, we're declining your application. You can't get in trouble for that. So that's why I'm saying that makes absolutely zero sense.
No, Doc, actually, I know you may talk to my friend Eric because the woman did fill out her passport application, and it was they couldn't get her on anything else. But when they brought in the application and said, "Did you sign this?" She got in trouble.
What kind of passport are you talking about?
I don't know. All I know is that they were doing all this passport stuff with Chris back in Massachusetts.
Well, guess what? Guess what? I know what it is. You have to sign it in their presence. If you don't sign it in their presence, yeah, they don't accept it.
Well,
I
I don't know.
do. I've done it before. I have a passport. I've done it 3 times now. You have to sign in front of a government actor, either at the post office or at the federal building.
So when she got in trouble was she didn't have the information correct on the form and she attested to it, and then they got her for admitting to it that she signed it.
Right. She did something wrong. She absolutely did something wrong. What I'm saying is that the application that she filled out, if it was a USA passport and it had something to do with the signature, yeah, I can see that happening. But you have to do it in their presence. Guess what? Wait. You have to do it in their presence. What does this form, this application have that's exactly the same as that? You have to do it in the presence of the law enforcement officer and all they're doing. This is all they do. And you have to look at this form. I'm trying to send it to you right now. Hang on. So that you can see what I'm talking about, Dawn. It's just like the passport form. It's just like it. And so you have to sign it in the presence of you have to sign in the presence of this police officer. There's a little section where they fill it out, and then that's the police report. That is the police report. I just sent it to you on Facebook. So everyone else's version of a police report, you give them all this information, and then they take a police report and they give you a number and all that. They don't ask for any of that stuff. None of it. None of it. So is that really a police report by the standards that we normally say a police report is? No. So what does it say? It says applicant signature, and then below that is this defined line, and then below it, it says applicant's information has been verified by agency personnel taking the report by these documents pursuant to NAC. So all they're asking for, they're not asking for the actual police report. They're saying you have to go file a police report. And what does that mean? That means you have to get them to verify with what? A passport and proof of Social Security. So if you have a Social Security card and you have a passport, done. They sign it, boom, you're done. You submit the application. You're done. That's it. It's not asking you to explain anything about identity theft, period.
I understand.
That's a little different, see? It's not, you can't get accused. See, you were saying you got to be careful. Why? The worst thing that can happen is they say you're declined. And then they tell you why. And then I'd say, well, all right. Well, why was I declined? Why was I declined? They'll give you a reason. They have to give you a reason why you were declined. Have I ever been declined for a USA passport, even though I said I'm not a U.S. citizen? Nope, they gave it to me. I altered the frickin' penalty of perjury statement. And I didn't even give them the Social Security number. They still gave it to me. And on top of that, the second time I applied, it was because the first one was damaged. They punched a hole through it, and then they were keeping it. And I said, wait a minute, I want that back. Oh, well, we keep this, we destroy it. And I said, no, there's like visas and stuff in there that has, some.
Right, you're not allowed to do certain things.
But the policy is that they don't give them back. But guess what? I said, well, I'm asking for it back. And guess what? They gave it to me. I still have it.
See, like that, you debate the birth certificate. You're not actually supposed to attach to somebody. You're not supposed to write on that.
I understand that, but it's just a copy. You cannot write on a certified copy. If it's a copy of a copy, it doesn't matter because it's invalid. It's invalid. So this defacement that you're talking about, none of that stuff is involved in this application at all. I don't have to prove that I made a mistake.
So what are you going to use to identify or help you get the passport? Whose property are you going to be using?
I don't have to do that. The application doesn't ask for anything of that information. None of it. It doesn't ask for you to explain why you need one.
I didn't say about needing one. What requirements, what does an agent have to see?
You have to prove with a passport and some form of Social Security number that the applicant's signature is verified. So what do I sign where it says applicant's signature? Of course, I'm going to sign as the attorney in fact. Because it says full legal name. That's the assumed business name. It doesn't say.
Are you trying to get a passport for the assumed business name?
Okay, let's first of all, whoa. When you fill out a DS-11, they ask for the full legal name. Same information. What do you get? You get a passport with a surname and a given name. I'm going to lay odds that this passport that's issued by the Attorney General's office is a surname and a given name. How much you want to bet?
Well, I'm not sure, and that's why when James filled out the passport, crossed certain things out, gave an explanation as to what he wants, he didn't use those identifiers to go in so that he could see that because he doesn't want to use somebody else's property, okay? At any point, which would be Social Security's property, he doesn't want any confusion on the person and who's getting what and under what conditions, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it says you have to cross up, you have to line out what does not apply.
But is this the same guy that applied for a driver's license?
We're talking about cheating here.
No, I'm asking. There was a guy that applied for a driver's license using all that stuff, and he thought he had averted any liability because he signed something as attorney in fact.
And Eric, and here's the thing. We now know if they can't give ID to an assumed business name for the driver's license,
Right.
you're presuming that they can give a passport to an assumed business name. We have to ask that question. We've been trying to spit out here this whole time. You've been yelling.
But what I'm trying to do is get you to look at this form, because
I will.
this is what I'm saying. I've never seen anything like this.
I'm going to
And I already know that the USA passport, look what they're doing to the passport. They took it from me and they wouldn't give it back to me. That's what made me think I need to focus more on the passport. And look what drops in my lap. An identity theft passport. Holy fuck. You ask and you shall receive. It just got dropped in my lap, Dawn.
Okay, I am in no way. Okay, see, when G and Tracy and I get together and talk about, we don't yell.
Okay, I'm sorry. I want you to look at this form. Forget about everything else and look at this. Do me a favor. Do me a favor. Please look at this form. I'm not arguing with you. I'm trying to get you to focus on what I'm looking at instead of what you're concerned about, which is the fact that I may be at risk. Don't worry about that. Forget that shit and look at this. Identity theft application. Look very closely at that form. Please complete this application with law enforcement personnel, then mail it to the Nevada office of the Attorney General location as instructed in this brochure. It doesn't say anything about including a police report attached to it, or anything. It just says fill it out with the officer. Now take a look at the information. Full legal name, date of birth, driver license, state ID card number, okay, current address, daytime phone number, even now, okay, those are all just standard identifying information. Type of identity theft. That's all they're asking. They're not asking where it is. They're asking the type. So it would be, I would check the box IRS, Social Security number, and other records. And then also, I would click the button, the box that says government benefits. Why? Because the assumed business name is what applied for the government benefits, and it's receiving those benefits. I can prove that that name that they granted those benefits to is the assumed business name. That's what this is all about. And so then it asks for the applicant's signature, and look what it says above it. By applying for the Nevada Identity Theft Program, I declare the information I have provided in my application is true and correct. So who is my? My is the assumed business name. Okay? My application is true and correct to the best of my knowledge. I understand my application is for a Nevada Identity Theft Program card and only, and is not an alternative form of identification. Cool, that's just like the USA passport. Or a request for the Nevada office of the Attorney General to initiate any investigation or resolve any criminal actions. Beautiful! That's exactly what I want. And then I can use this and say, now you have to fucking pay the claim because I have a passport. I know this is it. This is it. You're not asking for anything other than a passport. You're not even telling them where the identity theft is. You don't have to. That's what's in the claim. So you get a passport and you file the claim. I got a passport that your office extended to me, and these asshats here, they violated the codes. And so now put the state of Nevada at risk. So here's the passport for the assumed business name. And that's like remember I said they have to be able to issue you something that's basically do not touch that person. Do not touch them. Do not detain. This is it right here. It's a passport. This is why I'm saying this is why if I'm raising my voice, it's because it just dropped in my lap, Don.
I know, but I'm just saying, listen.
You don't even need a case number. It says case number, if any. Is there a case? Is there a case? Is there a case? No. There's no case at all. I don't have to identify a case. All I have to do is identify that this full legal name, where it says driver license, state ID card number, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to cross that out, and guess what I'm going to put? Secretary of State ID number, file number. That's what's going to go there. I'm not filling it out I'm filling it out on behalf of the assumed business name, which is identified by a file number, not by a state ID or a driver license number. I'm going to put the file number that's associated with this assumed business name is this number.
Well, why don't we just clear this up and call them up and say, can you issue an identity theft card to an assumed business entity?
Well, the worst, like I said, there's no fee to submit this. The worst that can happen is they deny it. No, there's no phone. No, what they'll say is send the form in. Send the form in. It's got a thing. It's attached to a fucking brochure.
I understand that.
I'm looking at this. This is the same thing that I've been looking for right here. Something that's informal. It's not a government form. That's why I can alter it.
I know that.
I can put file number on there. Right. So where it says full legal name, I'm going to put in parentheses assumed business name. And so this is why I'm saying the date of birth of the assumed business name is really July 15th, 1957. That is the date of birth of that name. My mom and dad created that name on July 15th, 1957. That is the date of birth. That's what's going to go there. But where it says state ID, the file number for the Secretary of State's going there. And where it says current address, that's going to be the business address for that assumed business name. And then I'm going to sign, then it says law enforcement agency, under agency, oh, that's Nye County Sheriff's Office. Officer, agency, personnel taking the report. Well, I'm going to look at them and say, what's your name? Oh, Alex Cox, whatever, put it down there. Date of report, the date of the thing, case number, if any, I'll leave that blank, and then phone number of the agency. I've got all that information. I don't need anything.
I'm reading here. Documents you will need to file it. So.
Wait a minute. Look at the bottom of the application, my dear. Applicants' information has been verified by agency personnel taking the report by these documents pursuant to 205.050. Now, what you're talking about is the stuff where it says it's talking about the certificate of live birth and everything. What is that? Where is that information coming from?
I'm just asking you.
Yeah.
I'm asking you, are you going to be using any other property?
Who has the proof of identity, the burden of proof of identity?
Well, this is what I would be doing, okay? I'd be going in there with this application before a police officer and say, look, here's the certificate, here's the registration number, here's my state that I'm an attorney in fact.
Why? Why would you have to even go through that? That's not what they're asking you to do. All they're asking for is either a passport or a state ID. Well, I got the passport, so that box is going to be checked off. No problem. Then the second thing is either the Social Security card, which I actually have that. I can just hand that to them, and they'll check that box off. Done. No need for a copy. Nothing. Fill it out. Get them to sign it.
My point is, are you planning on using Social Security property in this application process?
There's no need for it. They're not asking for it.
Well, if you don't have a passport, okay, you're going on, so anybody else...
I do have a passport, though.
That's not what I said. I said, I don't have a passport.
Okay, you have to get one.
I'm not going to get one until I have this figured out, which is
Okay.
what Gene, Tracy, and I are doing. And Gene set his up in a very specific way because we're not going to get that passport.
Well, see, I've already talked to State Department officials who told me I'm right. They said the name that I'm using on the passport is not the same as the name on the state ID, and they said that's correct.
I understand that. I get that because I'm the one that told you. And you know what? And it's not that you're not on the same page. See, Doug, we weren't even on the same page till last week when I finally told you.
I know, but see, the thing is this. We can make mistakes. We can always correct them. What I'm saying is what this means is none of that shit that I did wrong even matters. None of it. If I get a passport, guess what that means? Don't touch me. And they're not asking for any of that shit that you're talking about. None of it.
Well, I don't have passport, so if I were to go in there and look at...
You couldn't do this. You could not do this. You've got to have a USA passport in order to get one of these. Only way. Only way. So I'm going to prove it. This looks so easy to me, and there's no cost. It's free.
I know that.
That tells me it's for me. That's exactly what this says. It doesn't cost anything to file a claim either.
And does it say how long you can use it?
It doesn't have, no. It doesn't have any of that on here.
Right.
Look at it. Look at it yourself.
I'm
You-
looking at it.
it's like something you would get at a fair when someone's trying to sell a product. Here, if you're interested, send this away and we'll give you a free sample.
It's just like, whenever it looks like to me, just like there's an issue, a temporary card. And then you probably get back in the mail along with this. Now,
Okay, I'm going to read to you what it says. I'm going to read this verbatim. The Nevada Identity Theft Program provides victims with a way to show law enforcement and creditors that they have reported the theft of their personal information. When you show that to a county employee, what do you think they're going to do?
I understand that.
They're telling you this is the way you what do? You show it to law enforcement agencies. Really? Why? Why would I have to show that?
Can I ask, can you listen, please?
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm listening. I'm just excited. This is it right here. I already know. This is it.
Well, I don't necessarily agree, but
I know you don't. And that's why I don't need you to agree. I'm just saying this is why you're mad at me for yelling. This is why I'm being so adamant. This is like 333. When I found the assumed name certificate, it was the same feeling. This is times 1,000.
I'm just saying they're going to ask you, if you want this identity theft card,
No, they're not asking for anything other than this. That's it.
creditors that have reported the theft of their personal information. What entity's personal information got?
Okay, on the form, I'm looking at the form. What does it say? Please complete this application with law enforcement personnel, then mail to the Nevada Office of the Attorney General location as instructed in this brochure. It doesn't say attach the documentation to it, does it?
No,
It doesn't. And guess why? Because the police officer already made that apparently clear that that's not even an issue because it says it's in compliance with the same code that shows the other things that you have to present. But it's funny, it doesn't ask for a certificate of live birth down here. It asks for a passport or a state ID. That's it.
I know, it has to do with personal information.
Yes, that's all it is.
I know that. But at some point, I'm asking you, what personal information was taken from what entity?
What are the two things they're asking for? They're both coming from the federal government. Nothing about the Social Security has anything to do with the state of Nevada, nor does the passport.
I'm still asking you, what entity's information got taken and how?
I don't have to describe that. What part of that do you not understand? I don't have to prove anything. Where's the burden of proof? It's on them.
I don't know about that.
That's why this is so easy, Dawn. So it doesn't cost anything. If I get a card and it says surname, given name on there, you know what the first fucking thing I'm going to do is? I'm going to get in my fucking truck and drive straight to the sheriff's department with that fucking card and go in there and show it to them and say, you want to make a copy of this? Because if you touch me again, now you fucking know. I'm telling you right now. I have a fucking passport right here. So it's coming to me right now, Dawn. I'm telling you right now, this is huge. I'm going to do this today. I'm doing this today. I have this information. I can go down there. It doesn't cost me anything. And guess what? I'm going to send it first class mail with $1,000 fucking on it as insurance.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with what you want to do and try. I'm just saying I have a lot of questions as to how this is going to work, tied into, because if this is an identity theft, at some point somebody's going to come along and say, okay, now what entity had what theft occurred? I don't know.
But they're not asking for that. That's the key. That's your first sign that this is what we're supposed to be filling out and sending to them. We don't have to prove that. In a court, that's what the court's asking you to prove. You can't do that. This is why I'm saying there's no way to prove what they want you to prove. No way. Why? Because it doesn't exist to begin with. So what does exist? The assumed name certificate. We can prove that. Oh, okay. So all you have to do is say, this is what exists. Here's the information. Give me my card. They're not asking you to prove where the identity theft is. That's the whole point, Dawn.
I heard you many times.
Yeah, that's why I'm like excited. It's like, holy fuck. Normally you have to prove. If you say I'm not innocent, you have to fucking prove it. They're not asking. The only thing they're asking for, a passport and proof of Social Security. Well, fuck, I can do that. That's easy.
I just think that there's other hidden things that are going on when you use their property. And if you have the Social Security card attached to it, you've used their property.
Oh, well, wait a minute. Did I use it? Did I use it? Wait a minute. Did I use it? Or did I just fill out an application and that actor used it?
If you provide it, what is your...
I didn't. I didn't provide anything. I just filled out an application.
That's to intent, and that's in there many times.
What? Okay. Is there a penalty of perjury statement here that you see on this application? All it says is, I declare the information I have provided in my application is true and correct to the best of my knowledge. Nothing in there about penalty of perjury, is there?
I understand that. I read that. I saw
Okay, that's another clue. That's another clue right there. So all I'm saying is that I've never seen anything even close to this. And it's a trick. They're saying you have to file a police report first. This is what they're talking about. This isn't a police report. This is what you're doing. You're reporting to the police. I'm filing an identity theft application with the state of Nevada Attorney General's office. You are now aware of it. That's all this is.
I get that.
That's the report. You're filing the report to tell them you better watch your ass because I'm going to get a fucking ID, a passport. Not an ID. I'm getting a passport. It's warning them.
I get that.
That's the report. It's not to file a police report about damage or identity theft. It's to warn them, hey, you touch me in the future, I'm going to have a passport.
No, I get that.
I don't think you did in the beginning, though. That's what this is.
I know, my concern, okay, as with everything, this is just the way we operate up here. We very, very closely look at what information do they want and whose property might be involved in the gathering of the information that they want.
Yeah, but look what it is that, yeah, I know, but it's so obvious to me. It says, I understand my application is for a Nevada Identity Theft Program card only and is not an alternative form of identification, A, or a request